Hello, hello. Happy Sunday, everybody. I am excited. You know, I always say this, right? I'm excited, though, to jump into this live because I just had an amazing conversation with someone where we got deep into why, for so many people, but women in particular, our hearts are closed off. So welcome, everybody. This is Dr. Nicole. And yeah, let's just jump right into it, right? So yesterday I had a conversation. I was on Zoom with someone. She's a holistic practitioner. And we were preparing for a media appearance, which, again, that's a whole other story I can't wait to tell you guys about. But preparing for a media appearance that I'm going to be doing. So we were talking, she was asking about my book, The Boundaries to Bliss Blueprint. She was asking about why I started with boundaries, why I feel like that's such a foundation for women. And we just got into this whole deep conversation that totally blew my mind because we had just met, right? And she was on the same sort of wavelength or, like way of thinking as I was. And I want to tell you why, for so many of you, for so many women, your heart is closed off, like completely closed off. And it has to do with that holistic connection that we have in our bodies, right? That holistic connection that we have in our bodies that connects our feelings, our thoughts, what we do to the different organs in our body and the way that our bodies function, right? We can't separate the two. So you always hear me talk about the mind, feeling, body connection. It's all one. And this applies to boundaries and to love as well, right? So just to back up a little bit, right? So you know that I am always here telling you, I'm the boundaries coach. So I'm always talking about the different ways that boundaries are important in our life and what happens when we don't have them in our life, right? But let's take it back a little bit. I want to break this down for you all. Let's take it back to where in our body this shows up and how that affects us in our day-to-day life, right? So, as I said, I'm into holistic wellness and well-being. You will always hear me talk about a holistic approach to boundaries. This person I was talking to is a holistic practitioner. She does a lot of body work on people. And so she was telling me, as she was studying traditional Chinese medicine, the liver is the organ in the body. So with traditional Chinese medicine, there's always an area of the body that is somehow connected to what's going on with us emotionally, right? So it's not separated. And so there's the liver is the organ in the body that is connected to boundaries, right? That's where we expel. That's where, if we are in our life, where we're able to say no, where we're able to set limits in a healthy way, where we're able to establish and maintain healthy boundaries, that means that is connected to the liver functioning well. It's almost like it's helping to cleanse out toxins and expel toxins, right? And we know that what happens with liver damage is your whole system, nothing can function, right? So think about the fact that being able to set limits, being able to say no, being able to have limitations is connected to the organ, one of the key organs in your body that is important for cleansing and getting toxins out and making sure that the rest of your system is functioning. It's almost like it's the foundation of the rest of how your organs and your system function together, right? So what happens, though, in the body? What happens physically when we are not able to say no for whatever reason? When we're in a state of being where our boundaries are out of whack and we're constantly letting things in that we're not supposed to, and we don't have a way to expel them, right? So the body, if you don't know anything about the body, it always compensates. It always compensates, right? So the body is always looking for, okay, if this isn't working, right, then how can I compensate by allowing another part of the body to do that same function, right? And think about it, even with like our senses. People who end up becoming blind, they have a very keen sense of sound, of hearing, right? So we're always compensating. So what part of the body compensates when our boundaries are out of whack, which then affects our liver? Think about it, right? It's connected to our heart. It's the pericardium. Get this word, you might want to Google it. It's the pericardium. It's that sac around the heart that envelops the heart. And what happens is, when the liver is not functioning well because of the lack of healthy boundaries, what happens is the pericardium compensates. So where the liver could not, do its job and have that healthy sort of limitation, the pericardium, which is the sac around the heart, from a holistic medicine perspective, ends up compensating. So what happens is literally the heart, the sac around the heart, the pericardium, becomes hardened. Let me say that again. The sac, the pericardium around the heart becomes hardened. It's a compensation, right? Because that energy and that functioning, that boundaries is about limitations and demarcating and saying where one thing ends and another begins, right? And so if the liver is not able to do it, the pericardium does it. And how does that manifest in your life? Think about it. How does that manifest in your life? It manifests by you not letting people in on a metaphysical and energetic level. You're not letting in those that should be let in, right? You're not, again, our heart is not for everyone. So when you're not letting in those who should be let in, who ends up losing out, right? You think you're in a space, you in your mind, you think that you're protecting yourself. When you're distrustful, there's a part of you that thinks you're protecting yourself. But what happens is when you are out of balance, what you're doing to protect yourself becomes too rigid. And I always tell women, any woman that I will work with, because I have women who try to overthink love and relationships, who try to over plan and over analyze. That's because they're in a space where their boundaries were out of alignment, right? And their heart is saying, you know what, I'm going to do this protective thing no matter what. And they think that the only way to not have heartbreak is to be rigid, have their heart rigid and closed off. And they say, I'm only going to open it little by little by little. But here's the problem with that, right? Hey, how are you? Here's the problem with that. When you're in a space where you're thinking you can control everything by overthinking and over planning, what part of your body do you not trust? What part of your being do you not trust? You stop learning to trust and listen to your gut. Let me say that again. You stop listening to and learning to trust your gut, which is your intuition, which as a woman is so powerful and important for how you navigate, how you are in the world. Okay? And so is everybody with me, right? So lack of boundaries, how that's connected holistically to your body, liver, which is supposed to take out the toxins, is not functioning right. But because the body always wants to be in balance, we call it homeostasis. What happens? The heart, the pericardium, is that sac around the heart. That starts to take up the thing that the liver was supposed to be doing. How does that manifest in your real life when the pericardium or the sac around your heart gets hardened? It manifests in your ability to really engage healthily in relationships. Yes. Does that make sense to you? You said that's good to know, right? It's really mind-blowing, right? Because this thing about boundaries, I'm telling you, when it's the foundation, when I say it's the foundation, it's the foundation. It can manifest on a physical level. It can also manifest in terms of your relationships. And boundaries, people think boundaries are about just saying no, right? That goes to the other extreme. So if you were somebody that didn't have boundaries, and then you get to that point where you're like, you finally decided, and then you're just running around saying no, no, no. right? That's the pericardium, that sac around your heart that has taken over. But that's not in alignment or in balance, because again, that's taking away, that's also disconnecting you from your intuition and your gut. And your gut is also connected to your brain. You see all these key areas of your body that influence how you actually act and feel and think in your life. It's all connected. It is all 100% connected. Right? So as I was saying, I have talked to so many women that think that they can overthink a relationship. And let me tell you this, love always involves a risk. Connecting with someone always involves a risk. Anything that's beneficial is going to have a risk to it. Now, are you going to be careless and just say who cares and indiscriminate? No, because that gets us back to what I was saying with no boundaries. You're just like, who cares? Let fate handle it, right? You're not connecting to your intuition, your woman's wisdom, right? But when you're in a state, when you think you can control matters of the heart only with your mind and eliminate all risk, that you can overthink it, that there's some kind of checklist that will somehow protect your heart, and you're never going to have any bad thing potentially happen, then you, again, are cutting yourself off from one of the deepest joys of connection and relationship. Think about it. Why do we want relationship? Those people who want relationship, even people who are out here being casual with it, right? They are looking for some kind of connection. And there's a moment in connection where we all want to be, we need as humans to be able to be vulnerable with another human being, right? That's where we get fulfillment and meaning, in a sense that somebody understands us and that somebody gets us, right? Whether it's on a friendship level, on an intimate level, or with on a business level. Because if anybody is in business, you have to go be with people that's in alignment. Okay, I see your question. I'm gonna get to it. Okay, Amina loves to cook. I love that question. So think about it, we all want to connect. And part of being able to be vulnerable is when you learn. I always tell people, you have to trust yourself enough to know that if you get hurt or disappointed or something doesn't go right, that you'll be okay. You'll recover. It's not that we're not human and it won't hurt, but if we go through life trying to eliminate all risk, like, oh, I can think my way out of this situation, then you're like, we're not robots, right? So you're depriving yourself. Even think about intimate connection. When you are really in that moment, it's not a thinking thing like, oh, do this and do that. You are in the present moment. And to get to that space, you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable, right? You have to trust your gut. You have to have balanced boundaries. So your liver is working right, so that your pericardium, which is the sac around the heart, is not hardening your heart. If you're with me, if you get it, type a 1 or something. Give me a fireball. Okay. So let me see what you said. I mean, you said, I'm with the right person in the wrong situation. What do I do? He understands me in every aspect, but unfortunately I can't be with him. So it's difficult. I want to let go, but I'm finding it extremely hard. Whew, sis, that's deep. I do not know the situation, for me to really answer, but all I would say is, in difficult situations, we always have to take time to pause and reflect and listen to self. And to listen to self, sometimes what you have to do is you have to be in a quiet space where you either journal, you meditate, you pray, you allow yourself to feel all of the emotions that are going through you in that difficult situation, and allow yourself to be open to what the answers are. And the answers are usually there. for you, right? The answers are usually connected to your intuition and your gut. If you allow yourself to listen to it versus trying to we think, yes, we're thinking beings, right? Of course, right? I wouldn't say that. I'm highly educated, so I know thinking is important. But there's a point when it comes to matters of connecting with people and living out our life in a meaningful way that we have to connect to intuition and our intuitive wisdom. So if you're saying, it sounds like you're saying this is a dream person for you, but you can't be with him. So I don't know what that means that you can't be with him. Right? I don't know if it's a situational thing with families or he's already in a relationship and sometimes we have to look at what our definition of that is, because we can sometimes, has anyone heard of soul ties? Right? These things, these connections that we feel are so connected to our soul that that it's like we feel like this is the person for us, but in a way there's a part of it that's not healthy and it's toxic, and we have to learn to let go. So the situation, you have to look at realistically, is this a situation? If this isn't something that's because of that you two have control over, I don't know what the situation is, then you have to ask yourself, right? When is it time to let go, right? Whatever decision you make, there's always going to be a part that's difficult. And that's kind of what I was saying. Love and connection, it always involves risk. It could be that you fall for someone and you can't be with that person. It could be that you fall for the wrong person because that's part of your pattern and you haven't healed your inner child wound. It could be that you trust and you don't know if and that person betrays your trust in some way. And let me say something too. There's many ways that our trust can be betrayed. That it's not only about, everybody thinks of cheating or infidelity, but whenever two people connect, there's potential for misunderstanding and for hurt and so forth, right? So I would say you have to really pause and reflect and ask yourself, realistically, what's possible, what part you have control over, are there parts where you need to let go? I know I have been showing you guys, right, that we're completely renovating the house, including my home office. So it's a wreck in here because I'm literally going through each and every folder. I'm packing up in my office, and I did with my kids' room, and my husband did his. I'm going through each and every paper, I have clothes. I've traveled to more than 52 countries. I have clothes from every part of the world. These are even handmade things for my kids that don't fit. And I'm asking myself, what am I holding on to? What do I need in this next phase of what we're going to? Yes, Coach Lon. And what do I need to let go of? Maybe it served me well for that period of my life. There was a period when I traveled so much, and I have beautiful, I don't know if you could even, some of it is out there, beautiful clothes, handmade clothes, but I haven't worn them in years, right? And I have to ask myself, when is it time to let go? Right? When is it time to let go? What do I need for the next phase of where I'm going? And what is served its purpose, but now there's stuff that I'm going to be giving. I'm not just putting it in the trash. There's stuff that this was handmade with love. I'm going to find, and it was only worn twice by my daughter. I am going to be giving things, right, to people. But it's time for me to let go of certain things. So sometimes we really have to go through life and ask ourselves, when is it time to let go? It doesn't mean a thing was bad, right? Like she said, the man really understands her. Doesn't mean the thing was bad. It doesn't mean, but it might not be time to keep it moving forward. And the only person who can answer that is you, right? So I'm in this phase of what do I need and what do I no longer need? Yes, Lon, you said the betrayal. And betrayals happen in so many ways. And let me tell you a secret that nobody will tell you. It doesn't matter how much you and the person you're in a relationship love each other. There's always a chance that they're going to hurt you, even if they don't mean it. They could be the best person, right? There's always going to be a potential moment where you're going to feel disappointed or hurt or betrayed, right? So that's something that you want, but that doesn't mean you let that pericardium, that sac around your heart, harden. It means you tap into your gut. It means you look at your It means you look at the boundaries around your heart. Can you guys still hear me? The boundaries around your heart, and you look at what's going on with the boundaries, in your life. Is it affecting your liver to where you can't get rid of the toxins that are not supposed to be in your life? So this is deep. I'm going to do, okay, because somebody I put it on Do Not Disturb, but I still got a call. I'm going to do a deeper class on that. And we're going to really get into the ways, the exercises, the things you need to do to be able to keep that balance so it's not affecting your body. And this is the last thing I'll say, right? With these boundaries, it's about flexibility. Boundaries are dynamic, meaning it's not a one-time thing where you just go around and say no and it's taken care of. Because every relationship shifts and changes, and there's going to be new things coming in that you have to learn the art of how to set the right kind of boundaries in your life. And some of that I do talk about in the book, The Boundaries to Bliss Blueprint for Women Who Are Finally Ready to Win at Love, and how you do that. And this is for both single and women in relationship. Because just because you are in a relationship doesn't mean you have all the tools to keep it at a healthy state. Okay? Any other questions? Somebody keeps trying to call me. So any other questions before I hop off? To the sister who's telling us, PMS. I have to do another video on that, okay? I'll let you know. You mean premenstrual syndrome? Okay, I'll talk about that. And also, what I'll say is that should not be normalized. Meaning the idea that you have painful menstrual cycles and you go through all of these emotional changes and hormonal and bodily changes, we've been trained to think that that's normal. But that process is supposed to be smooth in our bodies, right? That process is supposed to be smooth in our bodies. It's not supposed to cause us distress and emotional turmoil. So that, again, is something is out of balance. So watch my stories so I can let you know when I'm going to talk about that, okay? Because that's kind of like a separate topic, but it's, and also I work with a lot of practitioners who help women with their cycles. And what happens is we talk about how lack of boundaries even shows up in lack of healthy boundaries shows up in what happens with your menstrual cycle. It shows up in those areas. Okay, so I'm glad you guys joined. Yes, I love talking about this holistic connection, and the mind, body, emotion connection is so powerful. It's so powerful. Okay, so I will get to that other topic. And if you want to get the book, the link is in my bio. It's boundaries to bliss blueprint.com, and you'll see the framework that I use to help to guide you to a healthy balance of boundaries so that you show up in a way that's more fully you and authentically you in your relationships. And that is exactly how you end up getting your needs met in relationships. Okay? All right. I'm glad that you all join. Yes, it does at times, but I learned how to control it somehow. Okay. Oh, everybody join. Oh my gosh. And I got to get off. I have to jump off this live. If you have a last question, let me know. And we'll talk about that. I mean, yes, it does at times, but I learned how to control it somehow. Okay. So you have some tools. It looks like you need some more. Hey. So I'm glad you all joined. You got to catch the replay because I do have to jump off of here. Bottom line, healthy boundaries or unhealthy boundaries manifests and it comes out in our bodies, which then affects how we relate, how we feel and how we behave in our relationships. All right, so I will catch you guys on the next live. Check my stories so you can know I am going to get into that topic of boundaries with the PMS and so forth. Okay, take care, everybody.